In a season full of disappointment, this game, this series has got to be one of the worst. I mean, you came to Seattle with a being 3.5 games behind the Mariners. You had your chance to, if not take the lead, but make a statement. And what have they done? The offense has crapped their bed. And we'll talk about how bad they have done that on this episode of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are locked on the Sugarland Space Cowboys, and we hope that you join us for a daily Sugarland Space Cowboy podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me at Eric Talks Sugarland Space Cowboys, and you can find Brett at H-Town Wheelhouse. And we hope that you make us part of your daily routine, and you go and subscribe to us on YouTube, and go ahead and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. But in all seriousness, the Sugarland Space Cowboys are up 17-7 right now. Trey Cabbage has 2 home runs in this game. The Space Cowboys has 12 hits in this game, and Colton Gordon had a good start. And it's like, why can't they do this while they're up here? And it's just frustrating, everything that's going on. It's like, why can't we see this offense? And it's just so frustrating. I'll tell you how frustrating it is in a second. But this episode is brought to you by SupplyHouse. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, h-vac, or electrical job, and get fast shipping from coast to coast. SupplyHouse.com. So, guys, sorry. Anyway, guys, that's what the Astros have done. I didn't plan that, but the Astros have basically choked away the series. The pitching has done great. The pitching has done really good. The starting pitchers have gone at least 6 innings. I know that Framber Valdez gave up 3 runs in that game, but overall, the pitching, you have Hunter Brown go 6 innings. You had Framber Valdez goes 6 innings. You had Justin Verlander pitch almost one of his best games in 2 years or something, and he got nothing to show for it. And yes, I'm choking like the Astros were. So basically, it's just the Astros had a chance to make a statement. And to their credit, after Jose Abreu came back and basically put up a crapper in his first 2 games, they sat him today, and the Astros didn't do anything. They struck out a season high, 14 times? The previous high time was 11. So not only did you not score any runs, and believe it or not, guys, this is 7 straight games that the Astros have only scored in 1 inning. 1 inning. And you're not going to win a lot of games if you're going to only score in 1 inning. And that's what the Astros have done for 7. It was 6 straight games, but now it's 7 straight games. And it's frustrating. You had 7 hits in this game, and the Mariners only had 4 hits. It was a pitcher's duel. Justin Verlander came out and did exactly what he was supposed to do. Kirby was dealing himself, but then the Astros put some men on base, and they got the pitch count up. And so Kirby had to leave the game. You had to get to the Mariners bullpen, which is pretty good. And then you got to the Astros bullpen. The Astros bullpen at times can be pretty good. I'm not going to put this game on Taylor Scott. Taylor Scott has the Manfred runner, and you're not always going to get out of this gym. Speaking of which, I still props to Josh Hader for getting out of that ninth inning. He had with the error, the bad throw by Yainer Diaz to where you had Julio Rodriguez steal second base, and then the throw gets by him, and then he goes to third base. I believe there's only one out at the time, and somehow Josh Hader struck out the next two batters to strand that runner. But that was a good Houdini act to just make it go to the 10th inning. But for some reason, the Astros have had a few wins in extra innings. But when you go to the extra inning, there's just like this feeling in the back of your throat, like I did earlier, where they're just gonna choke it. It's just gonna be like, well, what's gonna happen here? They're not gonna bring Ryan Presley here, right? I mean, he hasn't been good recently, but the Astros pitchers, they came in and they dealt today. Brian Abreu, 3 strikeouts. Josh Hader, 3 strikeouts. Justin Verlander came in, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and this was his first walk in 2 games. And he did allow his token home run. He's a fly ball pitcher. He's gonna give up some home runs, and he gave up a fastball to Calzone, which sounds like a sandwich, doesn't it? But he gave up a fastball to him, and unfortunately, it was a situation where he struck him out earlier in the game, but first pitch fastball out of ballpark, and he's going to give us some home runs, but you got to give the dude some offense. You got to score some runs. And it seems like no matter what Joe Espada does, moving people around in the lineup, Bregman is still batting, 5th in the lineup. Myers almost should be moved up in the lineup. He's doing really good with runners in scoring position. And so it's just like, it doesn't matter where you put these people. And then Chas McCormick I hate to say this, but he's a shell of himself. I don't know what's going on with him, but he had 1 good hit where it looked like he put some good lift on the ball. I think Julio Rodriguez had to go to the wall to catch it, but overall he looked like he was off at the plate. And Hader looked like he had, I think it was Haniger or one of the people that struck out against him. I think it was Dylan Moore. He was swinging wildly and everything. So the Astros do have the pitching. They do have the talent. Yes, they're going to mess up at times, but that's why you have an offense to do something. But the offense is not going to do that. And why won't Eric call out Espada? I did. It doesn't matter what he does, though. This team is not going to, it doesn't matter if he moves Bregman all the way down to 9-hole. It's going to be Bregman up with the bases loaded, and he's going to pop up or something. It doesn't matter. This team doesn't have that it factor that it's had for the past, 10 years? It doesn't. It's not the same team. This is a team that has the same players, but for some reason, they don't have the same confidence. Is it Joe Espada? Maybe. Sometimes the leadership is a big factor, and I know that the players really played for Dusty Baker. For what everybody had to say about Dusty Baker, especially the media, whatever they said, the players played for Dusty Baker. And so I think that maybe the leadership skills are not there for Joe Espada. Maybe he should get more angry. I know I see a lot of people on X calling him Sleepy Joe, whatever you want to call him there. But there's something missing with this team. And unfortunately, we're going to talk about it. The GM is worried about certain 2 pitchers. And if this trend keeps on going, the Astros are now 6.5 games after all that freaking progress they made to get to 3.5 games behind the Mariners. You're winning so much. You're going to do this in this series against the Mariners. Yes, Mariners, they have good pitching, and they've been doing it to the Astros. The Astros are now 1-4 against the Mariners this year. And I don't know. Maybe this is payback for the Astros dominating the Mariners over the years. I don't know, but the Mariners pitching is legit. and they got just enough offense in this series to get the job done. So in a second, we're going to go ahead and talk about a little bit more about the rotation, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about why the GM is a little bit concerned about Cristian Javier and Jose Urquidy. Hey guys, whether it's a honeydew list or you got a big project at work coming up, if you need parts and you don't want to go to the store, we're all used to having things delivered right to a house. Why don't you try SupplyHouse.com? It's the only reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy to use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with your order? Get expert support from an industry leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. Pros use the site. You can use the site whether you're just trying to get something done so you can get your girlfriend or your wife off your back. So go ahead and check out supplyhouse.com and check it out. Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, go and check us out. Go and check out Michael Connor on the Locked On Astros podcast as well. And you can watch everything on your Amazon Fire TV stick. Just go ahead and search the free channels app, and you can watch me and Brett in your big projector if you have that, and just go and see us in your big screen if you want to see that. But and go ahead and check out all the play-by-play action on your Sirius XM app if you're on the road, or if you're like me, I'm going to be going on a cruise next week and I won't be able to hear that, but I'll maybe able to listen to it on my Sirius XM app. So I do have to make a correction. Somebody mentioned it's 1-5 versus Mariners this year. So thank you to I forgot who that was, who mentioned that in the chat, but that makes more sense. I was trying to do the math in my head. I said 104 doesn't sound right, but 1-5, that just sounds a lot worse, especially what have I been saying for the past week or so? The Astros' chances of going to the playoffs are slim. And I know that if you look at FanGraphs right now, they still have a 41% chance of going to the playoffs. And I know if you look at the odds, they're actually tied right now with the Mariners to go to win the American League West. And I keep on thinking, like, are we watching the same games? I mean, the Mariners are dominating the Astros, especially pitching. Their bullpen is dominating, and I know that if you've seen what happened with the Mets today, one of their relievers threw his glove in the stands and basically said this is the worst effing team in baseball. And then the Mets released him right afterwards. But if you look at the stats, the Mets are not the worst team in baseball. Of course, there's the Rockies, there's the A's, there's some other teams that are a little bit worse, the White Sox. But if you're talking about, I know we think about games like this and we're like, well, this is a game we should have won. It's the bullpen's fault. But I saw this stat, and this is something. Losses this year in games that teams have led in after 7 innings. I would ask Brett, but he wasn't able to be on the podcast tonight. But the Mets, they have the most losses after leading after 7 innings with 9. If you go down, the Tigers have 6. The Astros, surprisingly, only have 5. They're tied with the Cubs. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, the Mariners have 0. The Mariners bullpen, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty good. The Mariners rotation is pretty good. So what I expect the Mariners to do at the trade deadline is to get more offense. I know Julio Rodriguez is probably going to wake up, and his bat's going to wake up at some point, and he's going to become Julio Rodriguez we know. So this team is going to be a little bit more scary. And I think the Rangers are going to wake up at some point and realize that they won the World Series and they're going to play a little bit better baseball. So the Astros are throwing away their chance. there's barely any chance for them anyway, but they're by playing crap games like this, where you out hit them, you basically outpitched them, but because of the stupid Manfred ball, you just can't, like, instead of like having extended at bats and having productive at bats like the Mariners did, you just, what, 6 or 7 pitches in that inning? That's it? Really? That's the best effort you can give us in the 10th inning, Astros? Seriously? Look what the Mariners did. The Mariners got it done, and they won it on a sacrifice fly. Why can't you win like that, Astros? Why can't you do something like that? It doesn't take a home run. It doesn't take a single. You could just advance the runner to third base and then do something from there. So, no, I'm not going to address that, Michael. I'm still not interested in that, and I don't think the Astros are. I don't think too many teams are, because if that was the case, I think that he would be playing baseball in the major league by now. So, okay, Austin, cool. But it's not really the Manfred rule I'm mad about. It's the fact that the Astros can't seem to play well with this. And I don't have the stat in front of me, but I showed Brett the Astros are actually have the worst record in extra innings since that rule came about. So this has nothing to do with the Manfred rule. This is about the Astros' ability to get the clutch hits since that rule has come into play. So this has nothing to do with that. And so, but going back to, I guess we could say that Alvarez, the highlighted game was Alvarez got his 3rd steal of the season. Previous, he only had 2 steals coming into the season. So now he has 3 steals. So I guess that's something he's turning into Ricky Henderson all of a sudden. He's going to steal some bases. So I think that's okay. Justin Verlander versus Mariners since 2019. He actually improved this, but he's actually 10-1 with a 2.98 ERA. The Astros were 13-1 in those games, but now they are going to be 13-2 after today's loss. So this was a game where Justin Verlander did all he could. The bullpen, they did all you can. And Taylor Scott, unfortunately, he just gets put. The 2 walks. The 2 walks. I'm going to put that on Taylor Scott. He looked a little wild. And so, but he's always going to be put in these situations because he's the last guy. You go through your main guys. Ryan Presley wasn't used in this game, but you go through your main guys. Who else you got? You don't really have anybody else. And so it's just something like Taylor Scott has been very effective. So I just think that, unfortunately for Taylor Scott, he was the guy that got the loss here. But why didn't McCormick bunt? I think that's a reason to question the managing ability for Espada. Like certain situations, why didn't somebody advance the runner? I think that's why we see a difference between some managers and the Astros. It's just, especially this year. So I don't know exactly what the answer to that question is, but right now the Astros are a bad team, and you can't just put it all on Joe Espada. It's on the players too. The Astros are benching Mauricio Dubon right now, and he is one of their best hitters, and he's not playing. And so it sucks. They're 8 games under 500. They're back at 6.5 games behind the Mariners. They're 24-32. They're on pace for about 80 wins this year. They ain't doing it. The Astros are going to have to get a lot better. And now we've heard that the GM is worried about Cristian Javier and Jose Urquidy. Really? Cool. That's something we did not need in 2024. We need more pitching, not less pitching. We'll talk about this coming up. Hey, let's talk about FanDuel. So, FanDuel is a site out there that gives you all the odds you need to go out there and make the bets you need to do. So, like right now, the Astros, despite everything that we're seeing, they still are like the sixth most favored to go to the World Series. And I know, especially with this matchup between the Mariners and Astros right now, the Astros are actually tied right now at plus 750 to win the AL West. So that's all the type of numbers that you can get over at FanDuel. So it's a winners take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every playoff shot count. And FanDuel is America's #1 sports book out there. Oh, sorry, I forgot I was doing the show. I was reading back of Yainer Diaz's baseball card, Jose Abreu's baseball card, and everything. So anyway, Dana Brown was on Sports Talk 790 today, like he normally does a weekly show, and this is something that is we've seen other GMs do in the past, and typically it's kind of like an update, but I think Dana Brown gives a little bit more of his opinion and his thoughts into this. And so Dana Brown said that Yainer Diaz and Ryan Presley are both going through some cold streaks, and mentioned that both are more than good enough to get through it and get hot. Okay, so yeah, Ryan Presley has been the closer for the Astros for many years. I don't know if the Astros saw the regression coming, and maybe that's why they went out and got Josh Hader, or maybe this is a byproduct of going out and getting Josh Hader. But guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Go and subscribe to us. Go and give us big fat thumbs up and make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. But we keep on hearing the GM say all the time, they'll get hot. We know that they're going to get hot. Why? The back of the baseball card. And he didn't say back of the baseball card. I think that they're like, okay, well, they keep on making fun of us for making the back of the baseball card comment, but they're more than good enough to get through it and get hot. And on Jose Abreu, he's a veteran, and we hope that he turns the corner. If he can't turn a corner, we'll have to deal with it. But there's a ton of games left going forward. If he doesn't get hot, we're going to have to make a decision. So if he doesn't get hot, they're going to have to make a decision at some point. They've already made the decision, and they send him down to the minor leagues to work on things. So this next time, it's going to have to be something else. I don't think Jose Abreu is going to agree to go down. I think the next thing the Astros can do is bench him. They could say, okay, we think John Singleton is going to be the starting first baseman. You can go ahead and be a bench guy. But at the same time, I don't know if the Astros could do that, because Singleton is a better defender right now. He's a little bit younger. He seems to be a little bit more flexible out there. He has more power, especially he's demonstrated with the home run ball this year when he makes contact. But at the same time, he hasn't been making consistent contact. He says, Dana Brown says on Jose Abreu, how long? I don't know, but it's in sight and we're aware of it. If he can't get hot and turn a corner, we'll have to go in we'll have to have a different discussion. So I know a lot of people, somebody made a comment after the show yesterday. Well, Eric, it sounds like you're giving the Astros a justification for them not starting Dubon and sending down Loperfido. What the Astros are doing right now is they're trying to protect about $26 million right now. Maybe it's more. I forgot what the number was that I quoted, but they're trying to get as much as they can before they have to make that different discussion, before they have to say, okay, we've done everything we can. Now it's time to cut ties, because at some point it's going to be well, we need to get underneath the luxury tax threshold. So let's go and do this. So even if they DFA him, unfortunately, he's still going to be on the Astros payroll. So they'll still have to pay him. So that's not going to help with the luxury tax. Trading somebody like Alex Bregman or somebody like that, maybe even trading Justin Verlander, because Justin Verlander, he is here to maybe move up the strikeout list and everything, but he's also here to get 300 wins. Make no bones about it. He's here to get up there and not just become a Hall of Famer, but he wants to be the last of a dying breed of pitchers, ones that gets to 300 wins. Sorry. So I think that that's something that the Astros may have to take consideration. Justin Verlander didn't come here to lose. He came here to win. And the Astros have had such a long history of winning that it's unfortunately that's probably not the course they're going to be making over the next year or so. I hope things turn around. But the hot and cold, then hot, the cold, that's just not going to produce winning baseball. And so let's go and move on to pitchers. We're getting a couple opinions from our docs. I would think we should know in 48 hours on those guys. Even if they're down for a month or two or whatever it is, we'll know in 48 hours we're still good enough. We're still good enough. Basically, he said that on Urquidy and Cristian Javier. But he did add he is really, really concerned about Jose Urquidy's injury. So they have not used any words, but the really concerned part makes me think that there's something possibly wrong with the elbow. I know that there's something going on with the shoulder. That's why they said that both of them were dealing with the forearm issues. So forearm issues could also be something dealing with the elbow. So I'm not going to make any type of conjectures here, but if Cristian Javier or Jose Urquidy are out for any length of time, hopefully it is only 1 to 2 months, but that's scary because you know that there's an innings limit on Spencer Urquidy. He is a rookie. I don't know what the max inning he's pitched before, but it hasn't been a lot. Hunter Brown, you're probably going to have some type of max, maybe 180, 190 innings this year. And so the Astros need some starting pitchers. And we saw that Lance McCullers is starting to make some bullpens. And we did see that this weekend, I believe that we're supposed to see Luis Garcia maybe throw a live batting practice. So that's a big step for him to start throwing some live batting practices. Once he does like 3 of those, he could potentially start making some moves down to make some AAA starts. But it's going to take some time he's recovering from the Tommy John surgery. So they're not going to rush him back because they want to not just have him for this year, especially if the Astros are on a downward spiral. They don't want to rush him back and not have Luis Garcia for the next year. So I think they're going to be very patient with that. And so the Astros, he will face Luis Garcia will face hitters in the live batting practice on Friday. And so he had surgery last May, and he resumed throwing from a mound in April. So that's a good move, but we still don't know the official word of what's going on with Cristian Javier or Jose Urquidy. So at this point, we're just kind of in waiting mode, but I guess that's better than knowing the answer. But at some point, we got to know. So the good thing is that the Astros have gotten 3 quality starts in the series, like I mentioned at the start of the show. But the Astros are 18 for 100 in this series with 2 extra base hits and 33 strikeouts and 4 walks. That just came out from Brian McTaggart. So, and this was waiting for Sarah Lanes. The Astros have scored exactly 1 inning in 7 straight games. This is the longest streak since the 1974 Orioles, also in 7 games. The MLB record is 8 straight games from the 1918 Senators. So the only other team with a streak of 7 in the expansion era is the 1961 since 1961 was the 1962-1963 Angels. So basically, the Astros are doing something that teams don't do. That, like, when you score, you're supposed to break up the scoring over multiple innings. They score one inning, they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna go play some golf. We're done for today. Pitchers, you're gonna have to do the rest of it from here, and you can't do that. You got to hit and score runs consistently throughout the game, and they're not doing that. And so, unfortunately, they're not doing like the Space Cowboys, who just scored another run. They're leading 18-7 now. 7 runs is a lot to give up, but when you score 18 runs, I guess it's good. It's the Space Cowboys have a 33-19 record. Must be nice to be a Sugarland Space Cowboy fan. But I know these are all players that will eventually be Astros, but Pedro Leon is actually 0 for 4 with 2 walks and 3 strikeouts. But Trey Cabbage has 7 RBIs in this game. And then you have David Hensley is also back, and he has 2 hits in this game. And Cesar Salazar also has a home run. So the Astros hopefully will get their offense going at some point. But until then, we are they just scored another run. It's now 19-7. Send some of that to Houston. We'll pay for the postage. Thank you. Signed, all Astros fans. All right. So anyway, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. We got one more game, unfortunately, in this series, and hopefully the Astros will be able to take care of business, but it's going to be Logan Gilbert versus Spencer Urquidy. Gilbert is 3-2 with a 3.06 ERA, and Urquidy is 2-5 with a 6.93 ERA, but don't let the ERA fool you. Urquidy's looked a lot better recently. So, guys, Brett and I will both be back tomorrow for a Locked On Astros podcast. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Astros victory to salvage one in this series. And until then, my name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We are the Locked On Astros podcast, and we will see you tomorrow. And go Astros.